What up, Joe? Long time no see, brother.
Hey, buddy. I feel like we haven't done this together in a while.
We haven't. That's because we haven't. I didn't even know how to hook this thing up. Been so long. I can walk. I can walk through a blind. I can walk a blind man through doing it on the phone, but I can't do it myself. So
Is that kind of call me blind?
now just messing.
It's okay. I am blind, buddy.
All right. So here we go. Let's just get this rolling. Most anticipated DFS weekend of the year.
Oh
Not really.
gosh. Yeah.
Here we go. Let's dive right in, Joe.
Yeah, we'll get into it, man.
Welcome into the Turn Fantasy Golf Podcast. I'm Andrew Putters. I've been away for a few weeks. I got my partner here, Joe Nicely. We're going to talk a little Tour Championship. Let's talk playoffs. Let's talk end of the year. First and foremost, let's get some things out of the way. End of year 3 of the Turn Fantasy Golf Podcast. And we're going to give you your 4 round a roll for it. Now, might see a few changes from the standpoint of we're going to move into some more golf related content, sticking with the fantasy stuff, but we're going to have more golf related content in the future. And we're excited about that. Joe, talk about Rotoballer on the way out here last weekend of season 3 of the Turn Fantasy Golf Podcast, brought to you by Rotoballer.com. Give us a little on the way out, Rotoballer.
Yeah, we appreciate everyone kind of joining us throughout the year, and we've really had a lot of fun. We've had some great shows, some great guests throughout the year. That's going to continue through the fall. You might see some folks pinch hitting for AP and I a little bit through the fall, but it's great, man. Fresh voices, and we've got some really great voices over at rotoballer.com. Really love what we've accomplished over there this year with the team. We've kind of added and built over the years, brought on Byron Lindeque, the model maniac this year. He's been absolutely crushing it. Our boy Josh Bennett's over there. Spencer's been doing his thing all year, always amazing. So tons of thanks to those guys. We hope you'll go check us out. We'll be knocking out content throughout the swing season, which you can't find everywhere. So go to rotoballer.com, use our promo code TURN. You'll get a discount going forward, and you can also use that for fantasy football, which is starting up. You can still get that discount by using our promo code TURN to take advantage of the amazing content over at rotoballer.com for the NFL, which is coming up either season long or DFS. So I encourage you to do that. Really proud of the content over there that's offered for every sport.
Yeah, football season right around the corner. Let's close this season 3 out, the 2022 or 2021-2022 golf season with East Lake Golf Club. But first, let's talk about last weekend, Joe. I got a little bit chaotic on Twitter. I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty obvious who I was pulling for the first time, and I watched every shot on Sunday. Haven't done that, and I don't even know when, 5 years. And I mean, literally every swing I watched, other than maybe like a Masters day where you can see every shot. So watched every single swing. Man, it really was a good tournament, regardless that our man from East Tennessee area was there, but still. Great tournament, and I think kind of getting swept under the rug is how good this golf course that they just played was. I think everybody in the industry talked about it. I'm not saying it's a major style golf course. Was it Wilmington Country Club in Delaware?
Mm-hmm.
But still, amazing golf course. It fit all the optics, reachable but tough par 5s, firm greens, but that would hold a shot. Thick penal rough, great golf tournament. Winning score was where you want to see it. I think, in my opinion, as a fan, somewhere between 10 and 15, 8 and 15. It's usually where we want to see a winning tournament. So what was your thoughts about last week, aside the fact that our man finished runner-up?
Yeah, shout out to our boy Scotty Stallings, repping the East Tennessee region very, very well. So we're very proud of Scott. Yeah, man, huge shocker that there are actually good golf courses out there that don't start with the letters TPC. So shout out to the PGA Tour for jumping out of their comfort zone a little bit. It's also not a huge surprise that we have a great golf tournament when the best players in the world all play. A couple of recipes for success there. Interesting golf courses, good quality golf courses. 30 under doesn't equal extremely entertaining to me. So I'm with you, AP. I love the score. Like how the golf course played, and I mean, I think we got a big off season coming up. It's been a wild season with all the live stuff. Big off season coming up. I think a lot of changes are kind of blowing in the wind right now. So, PGA Tour is going to have to get its hands around how to get these guys together more often, outside of the four majors and then a handful of other tournaments. These guys just all aren't playing each other every week. And yeah, we're closing out strong with the FedEx Cup playoffs, getting to see these great fields. So we're kind of ending the year with a good taste in our mouth, but it's pretty few and far between, AP, when we see these top 25 guys, let's say, on the PGA Tour actually all playing in an event. It's something the PGA Tour is going to have to figure out going forward.
I agree completely that we need to see great players play against each other on good golf courses. So
let's all play the Honda. Let's all play the Honda every year. Let's all play Phoenix. Let's all play. I mean, there's a lot of good tournaments out there. It's not that hard to say, hey, we're bumping the money up in these events. You guys need to show up. And, once a month, we're going to have the best guys on the PGA Tour playing each other. I mean, it's not rocket science, man.
Yes, I almost say this about it. You've always heard that competition is good, right? And in business, and PGA Tour really hasn't had much competition in a long time, and this has created that. And I think it's caused them to look internally. And I think going forward, do I think Live Tour survives? Who knows? There's no way of telling now. My gut instinct will say 5 years from now it won't be a thing, but I think the PGA Tour will be better for it. It'll be stronger. It's forced them to basically put everything. They're brainstorming. They're putting everything on the table at this point.
Yeah,
where it's money, destinations, guarantees. No cuts, less people, more people. They're doing whatever it takes to get the best players there all the time. And, as much as I dislike the thought of once you're in, and the PGA Tour is really good about that as far as making it really hard to not be in once you're in. Let's be honest, it's more entertaining when you are in. So if you can just push through, which, it's the stage. It's the biggest stage in the world. Why shouldn't you have to push through and be great? It's not for everyone, every pioneer, mediocre. When I say mediocre, I'm talking about that level mediocre.
Yeah.
Professional golfer to play in tons of events. And so I don't know. I think the PGA Tour will be better for it in the long term. And we're going to talk a lot more about this PGA versus Live in the fall when we have some guests on and there's not a golf tournament going on. Well, that will be a bigger subject going forward, where we can dissect some things and some ideas. So ending on last week.
I think the fall is a big piece of the puzzle, AP. I really do. I mean, we're gonna be spending a lot of time on it coming up, as you said, but the big guys don't want to play in the fall. I mean, they don't want to play year round. They've made that perfectly clear. And I think the PGA Tour kind of needs to listen there, say, hey, we're going to have a fall season. We're going to get these KFT rookies up. Vets kind of want to solidify their place on the tour. We're going to understand that these elite players aren't going to play in the fall. But if you're not going to play in the fall, you're going to have to beef the schedule up. So I mean, I think there's some way to get there. Say, hey, we realize you don't want to play year round. take the fall off. But we need you at, these 6-8 events. We need you outside the majors, kind of throughout the season. So hopefully that's something they can figure out.
Okay, Tour Championship. Normally, I'm not extremely excited about this. Tiger Woods' return was pretty amazing, and that's what led to this new format here. So the reason that kind of leads to in why we're not usually excited for this. For those who don't know, which you probably do know if you watch any kind of golf, this is going to be your staggered start. Leaders 10 under. What last place is 2 or 1 or something like that. But the Tour Championship, it's done. The thought is that Tiger had this great weekend. Literally everybody's following him, and then all of a sudden Justin Rose makes an unbelievable up and down on 18 to finish tied third and lead the points race to be the overall Tour Championship. They want that to accumulate and to give it some type of meaning coming down the stretch. So basically whoever wins this tournament wins the event. So they stagger start the people. And what that means is the person leading points at this time is Scotty Scheffler. He will start at 10 under. Patrick Cantlay 6. Zalatoris would have been 7 before the withdrawal. Xander 6 under. Sam Burns 5 under. So on and so on and so on. If you're probably watching a podcast about DFS, you probably know this already. With the last few 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys being at even par, 10 shots back. And top 30 obviously qualified in the points. And but this golf course, this tournament, like I said, not normally excited. However, the excitement for us is that a guy from Knoxville, Tennessee, qualified. The guy that I grew up with playing golf against. He was a couple years younger than me, but we played against each other competitively growing up some. He qualified. So that's the excitement that I feel like this podcast carries into this tournament. And, I think this is a good opportunity for Scotty Scheffler to put the nail in the coffin on an unbelievable year. Tour Championship, East Lake has hosted since 2004 regularly. It hosted 98, 2002 previously. This tournament's been around since 1987. And I think this was a Jack Nicklaus thought to bring this about back then, but I'm not positive on that. Interesting field, 30 players, no cut. Joe, it's going to be a little weird. East Lake's been around forever, 1904, I think, is when it was built, designed by Tom Bannon-Lowe. Don't know who that guy is, but renovated by 2 of the probably top 5 or top 10 greatest architects in the game, Reese Jones and Donald Ross. Donald Ross in 1913 renovated it. Reese Jones has several renovations over the years. Greens are going to be some type of Bermuda grass. And then the tees, you're going to see a mixture along with fairways is always your rough is Bermuda, 2.5-inch rough. This time of year in the South, you want none of that. Don't matter how long it is. 73 plus 100 yards, par 70. It's just a hard golf course. It's just not easy. That's just a fact. Not easy. And similar to last week, Joe, you're going to see good iron play is going to be a major proximity is going to be a major thing. I will say going against the argument against last week to this week is probably there was 4 par 5s last week, and on the weekends, all 4 of them were reachable. So thoughts on this tournament, thoughts on this golf course, rich history, home of Bobby Jones, the greatest amateur to ever live. So thoughts on this golf course, Joe, thoughts on this tournament before we get into the players.
Yeah, really love the golf course. Love East Lake. Just kind of in a vacuum, as you mentioned, one of the tougher layouts really that we see throughout the year. The most narrow fairways on the PGA Tour schedule. Driving the ball in plays of the utmost importance this week. So kind of want to target good drivers of the ball, good total driving. You mentioned proximity and iron play, very important. Long iron play is important. So I'm looking at kind of that approach distance that's a little further out than maybe we were targeting last week. But yeah, man, overall tough golf course, a really good golf course. I don't know that it's a great golf course for this event. Where we where we do have the staggered start, we kind of want to see, guys make a run. Been doing this since 2019, and each of the last 2 years, the guys that started at 10 under have won this thing. I think Rory made a run there in 2019, the first year of the staggered start, and won that. But I don't know that it's the greatest course to mount a comeback. But at the same time, guys at the top can struggle and kind of come back to the field. So it is what it is. But overall, really like the golf course. As you mentioned, really tough. Plays really long. A little over 7,300 yard par 70, so it plays really long. And the fairways are tough, man. Penal rough. So it's going to be an interesting week with the staggered start. A lot to take into account. So with this smaller field, really tough from a DFS perspective. You want to try to get unique while still giving yourself a chance to hit that optimal lineup. So we'll dig into it. We'll see what we can figure out, AP.
Yeah. And with that being said, early on the year, maybe, 6 weeks prior to Augusta and then throughout, we saw once Scotty Scheffler was in the front. He was a great front runner. But let's be honest, since, the U.S. Open little mishap, he's been around there and up there and been pretty shaky. Not necessarily shaky, but not closing. Maybe actually going back to the way it was before the big run. He's in every tournament, which is crazy good. But, he's not necessarily closing them out like he was early on. And you saw it last week. Even last week, he made a great run there at the end, and then started, hitting it and hit a couple in the bunker and had long putts, and just like I said, just not closing out. But like you said, DFS can be really tough. This is a great week if you're thinking about it, using a very light week in that aspect. I'm just fired up. There could possibly be an Andrew Putter sighting at East Lake this week.
We haven't closed the book on that, right?
We have not. We are. It's very possible. There's the Andrew Putter sighting in Atlanta, Georgia, and possibly after that, combined with the draft, the fantasy draft that we have coming up Sunday, Joe, that I just told my wife about 4 minutes before we came on the air. For the first time, might be spend the night at your house. After we got a bed made up for you, big boy. If you need to come over Sunday night, I got you. Yeah, very possible. Very, very possible. So let's get into this. And like you said, I think it's going without going said. Unless you want to even touch on Scotty Scheffler, he's tough to not play.
Yeah. Obviously starting with the lead, starting at 10 strokes under. As you mentioned, it's kind of tough to put a finger on, but really it all comes back to the putter, I feel like, for Scotty Scheffler. If you want to boil it down, make it really simple. When he was winning golf tournaments early this year, he's making a lot of putts. And now he's not making as many putts. He's second to last in this field in strokes gained putting over the last 24 rounds, AP. 30-man field, and Scotty coming in 29th in strokes gained putting. So, the putter's been cold, hasn't done him any favors recently. He's gained or lost 0.8 strokes putting over his last 5 starts, and that's really been the difference. When you start tracking back, looking at the first of the year, gained over 6.5 strokes putting in Phoenix, that win. Gained over 4 strokes at Bay Hill, that was a win. Putted beautifully at the Masters. So, I think it all comes down to the putter. Scheffler makes some putts this week. I think he's going to win this thing and cap off a really great, almost a season that started in a historical manner. Cool down the stretch. But I think if that putter cooperates, Scotty Scheffler is going to be tough to beat this week. And then, of course, we can talk about Patrick Cantlay, the man that won the BMW Championship last week, won the FedEx Cup last year. So he obviously has a liking for this point in the season. Plays well on this golf course. So you have to respect Patrick Cantlay, even though he's maybe not as splashy as some of the other elite names in this field. And then Xander Schauffele, a guy you could argue that's played as well as anyone as of late and played as well as anyone at Eastlake. He's been a beast on this golf course. So, of this kind of the top handful of guys, even though he's starting 4 shots back, is that right, AP? I think Xander's starting at 6 under.
Yeah, 6 under.
He's the guy I'm circling up here this week. That's probably not a hot take. I think he'll be popular. People are going to see the course history. People are going to look at the recent form, but really tough to argue with Xander this week.
Yeah, I agree completely. I like all 3 of those. I don't think you go wrong with any of them. Patrick Cantlay, I'm going to say it once and that's it, Joe. Break of a lifetime on 17 over the bunker.
Yes.
Break of a lifetime. I like all 3 of those guys, but I don't, as much as John Rahm's not played well and Rory is really kind of up and down all year.
Yeah.
I actually like them a lot, Rahm and Rory.
Yeah, they're kind of like one of our favorite old movies, AP Rounders. They're hanging around. Yep. These guys keep hanging around. Yeah. Rahm and Rory are just kind of hanging around. They got alligator blood, man. They're kind of out there. Mentioned back in 2019, Rory came from 5 shots down to win this thing, so it is doable. It is possible. And those are the type of guys that have the firepower to do it. Let's not forget about Cameron Smith. A lot of controversy surrounding him. Set out last week after kind of an explosive week in Memphis. So let's not write Cam Smith off. It's very possible this dude can make birdies on any golf course with the best players in the world. So let's not write Cam Smith off. Very possible that he wins this thing, takes $18 million, and just rides off into the sunset.
Yeah, I'm a little worried with the hip. I think that might actually be real.
Really? You think it's legit?
He is not. Is his putting been that much worse the second half of the season as it was the first, or is it just something just ain't there? I don't have the stats in front of me, but
I know the PGA was one of his worst putting performances in recent memory. Because I was heavy there that week at Southern Hills, and it was just one of those weird fluky weeks where he did not putt well at all, which is very uncharacteristic for him. But he's had some dips in production with the putter. Has putted well recently. Obviously at the Open, putted beautifully, putted really well in Memphis. Over his last 10, he's gained 2.5 strokes on average. So, there's been some dips there, but I would say overall down the stretch hasn't putted as well overall, even though we've seen some spiked weeks from him.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if maybe that his ball striking has went down quite a bit because there might be something going on, is my point, over the last 2 months. Because it's definitely not been the same, right? The results have not been the same the second half as it was the first. So, it was crazy enough there in the beginning. He was like a top 20 ball striking guy, and that's just not him, So I don't know. I think there is something to the injury. I don't think it maybe is as bad, or, maybe it's just, maybe just fatigue. I don't, at this point in the year. I mean, we're up against it, Joe. There's not any. He played a lot of events. Let's see.
He actually played I'm looking. He played a pretty limited schedule. He played kind of the.
Well, if you
he kind of played the hits this year. Well, didn't play a lot of events.
I'll say if you remember,
he played a lot in the fall though. I think
if you remember there, he wins at the Tour Championship, and all of a sudden he takes off like a month, and then he plays Augusta, RBC, takes off a month. Then he plays the PGA, takes off 3 weeks. So he played 2. He played. Then he went over to Europe and played 2 events. I think there's a little something to it. That's just me.
Yeah, when you start looking at his schedule, it's he's played a really light schedule this year, so maybe there is something there. But I I wouldn't put it. I think he's one of the most, if not the most explosive player in the world right now. So you're talking about a guy that, is almost forced to start the event with the mindset that he has to go out there and chase. I really like Cam Smith in that spot.
I got you. So up there, Cam Smith and up. Is there anybody? Is Cam Smith all the way at the top? I mean, if you're starting with someone, who is it?
I think you can play two of these guys this week. With kind of this funky salary scale and this format, I think you can stack two guys up here if you want. Probably locking in Xander, man. That might change. That might change depending on ownership, but I really like Xander this week. He's had a great year. He's playing well. Loves this golf course. Suits his game perfectly. So I'm circling Xander TBD on the other. Tough to argue. I mean, you could make an argument for all these guys above 10K, but I think I like Xander the most.
I like that play. I think Xander's the most logical move. I think from a spinoff, I like John Rahm. We know that he can be successful on very difficult golf courses, and that makes sense here. So let's go down the nines, and there's 5 players here. Interesting because all these, you would think for different reasons, all these guys could have major success. I mean, Tony Finau definitely fits the thought that he just ball strike the heck out of it and, finish top 5 here. But he's been up and down, and we're not ready to trust him fully, I don't believe. Sam Burns, streaky player. I really don't know about him. JT is just, I don't know what it is about it, man. He's been lingering. He's actually, he feels like, I mean, he's had a great year, don't get me wrong. But does it not feel like a little bit that he's had a year like John Rahm's career from the standpoint, like, God, this guy's played awful, but he's got 10 top 10s. He's made 19 out of 21 cuts, won the PGA Championship. So,
yeah. It almost seems like, and I don't know that I even want to say this because I think there's been some injury stuff, but it almost feels like he kind of took his foot off the gas after winning the PGA. Which, hey, I mean, I guess you can't blame the guy if that is the case. But I think there's, had a withdrawal there at the Travelers, I believe. Didn't play well over in Europe at the Scottish or the Open. So, I mean, I don't really know what's going on with JT, but the history here is great. He's played great at East Lake, and we know that he can make birdies with the best of them. So, maybe this is a kind of JT making a last stand for this season, or maybe he's just done.
JT, I mean, look at this. JT engaged this year, right? Got engaged, and also big distraction on Live Tour. He's very vocal, very emotional about it. So that also could be playing an effect. I love Sanjay M. This
maybe
week.
He's maybe JT's fired up by the fact that his boy Tiger is teaming up with Rory to start this new company. Did you see that today? We got Tiger and Rory starting a sports entertainment digital type business, and JT, maybe he's feeling left out in the cold this week. Maybe he's motivated.
Well, I have heard rumor mill PGA Tour nonprofit is going away. That's rumor mill. Turn into a for-profit company going forward, maybe with the foundation backed in, which is where they can hide all their other money. but I
think that got tossed around. I don't know that.
That's rumor mill.
Going to go forward. Yeah, I know it's been tossed around. I don't know that.
Yeah. I mean, there no matter if it's for profit or not, there's going to be a nonprofit foundation side of it. But anyway, Sanjay M, love him this week. We always love Sanjay whenever all facets of the game comes into play. It makes a lot of sense here. And then Cam Young, very interested to see what he does here. Could see him playing very well. If he gets hot with the irons, if he does not get hot with the irons, we could see him just having a very mediocre week, which is what we see out of him, right? We see a top 6 or a 49th or a top, 16 to 23 cuts. And the dude's like, 40th in the world. So that means that literally top 10 or near missing the cut, right, at this guy. So,
yeah, he's the upside's definitely there. And on paper, this golf course seems like a really good fit for him, man. He's first in this field. I mean, this is a 30 person field, but an elite. The elite of the elite, the cream of the crop, and Cameron Young is number 1 in strokes gained off the tee in this field. So there's a lot to like. I think that's going to be very important this week. He's super long, but also accurate. He's very good from distance. We're talking about 175 to 200 yards. He's eighth in proximity from that range. If you know, that's kind of an approach range we're circling this week. So I definitely think there's a lot to like about Cameron Young. On the flip side, first time seeing this golf course, at least as a professional. Didn't play great. Certainly not as well as I expected him to play last week, but you have to load the upside at 9K.
Yeah. Sorry, my screen went blank. There we go. Yeah. This golf course has a little bit of Memphis in it, right? I mean, maybe it's different grasses, but long, difficult par fours, right? So, I don't know. It's Cam Young. I mean, if we're paying $9,000 for Cam Young, we want to be paying $9,400 for Justin Thomas, right? Or $9,100 for Sanjay. I think going forward, it's just if I'm looking at two players there at that same price range, I guess I'm saying those are my two favorites out of those five. Is JT and Sanjay. Moving on down the 8K range, another five players here: Connors, Matsuyama, Neiman, Hovland, Fitzpatrick. We're still out on Matsuyama until we can have proof otherwise that he is not injured, because something ain't there. And it could be that now he's maybe not injured, or he's 80 or 90%. It's just that whenever you're literally rehabbing a muscle or a joint or scar tissue or what have you, you kind of basically all that hard work that was in there before is all gone, and you got to build it back up, right? As far as getting reps in and or confidence. So, and this here, I mean, Connor's finish on the back nine there was spectacular.
So strong.
Yeah, we love him. I mean, Connors, Fitzpatrick, those are my two favorite here. It ain't even close. Love Hovland and Neiman's game, but I'm out on them against these guys.
Yeah, I'm never going to argue too strongly against Corey Connors, man. You know how much I like him. And I love that finish last week. I mean, that was just some big time playing down the stretch under pressure to qualify for the Tour Championship, to get in this week's field, and tons of benefits that come with making this event next year. And I also saw today, AP, they're now going to, if you're in the Tour Championship, if you're in this week's field, you're also playing in the Tournament of Champions to open up 2023. So that was kind of something they did during the COVID season, and went back to winners only last year. But now they're going back to, if you qualify for the Tour Championship, you're in the Tournament of Champions. So these guys are going to get another paycheck as soon as 2023 kicks off.
Wow. So literally going into the Sony Open, you will have played in the CJ Cup and the Players and the Championship, right? I mean, huge advantage. Tournament Champions and the Players and the CJ Cup before that. Interesting. So what are you thinking? I mean, you like Fitzpatrick on this course over Hovland, Neiman?
Yeah. I mean
Matsuyama's dead last in this group of five, right?
To me, just under the circumstances. And we've seen Hideki have a couple of decent finishes here, but nothing that really sticks out, and the form doesn't stick out. So, yeah, I'm kind of crossing Hideki off, man. The only way you're going there is if you're just trying to get contrarian. Connors hadn't really played well on this course, which is kind of surprising with his ball striking, and a lot of that can probably be his two starts at East Lake have both been in the staggered starts, and he's been starting way back. So, you can kind of maybe chalk that up to his starting position, a T22 and a T26 in his two starts here. And you got to think this out of a 30-man field. So Connors hadn't really played well, but on paper, I like him. I want to say Colin Morikawa just because he plays so well off the tee. And also like Victor Hovland. So I'd say Hovland in the 8K is probably my favorite play. And then we can get the 7Ks kicked off with Morikawa if you want.
Yeah. I mean, 7K, another 5 players. Sepp Straka, Scott Stallings, Max Homa, Jordan Spieth, Colin Morikawa. This is the Max Homa was just a sure face every week in, week out, grinding top 15 for like half the year, and then just kind of his putter, what he had shown is how well he was putting early on is obviously lacked off a little bit. His ball striking slightly, but not a ton, and he's got real life things going on as well with the wife and everything. Sepp Straka is up and down. Scott, we've already touched on, arguably he's been a top 10 on tour ball striker since what US Open-ish time period. So if you look what he's done with that,
you start looking at Stallings' proximity numbers. They're pretty sick,
pretty scary.
Pretty especially good. In recent events, 6th in overall proximity. Ranks inside the top 5 from a couple different buckets as far as approach ranges and proximity. So the ball striking's been beautiful. Has played great, and this golf course should suit him well. You mentioned Homa. Yeah, the irons just haven't been there. He's lost strokes on approach in each of his last 4. He's been a stud for us this year, though. Been a real trooper in his best year as a pro. As far as consistency wise, finally kind of broke through a little bit over that major championship hump where he'd always struggled and missed tons of cuts. Fought through that this year. So hopefully big things in store for Max Homa. But we're talking about the top 30 guys of the season. So, there isn't really a bad play, in the past in this event. I've kind of let ownership dictate where I go a lot. Because I think anything can kind of happen here. So I kind of like Scott Stallings again, man. I'm sticking with our boy. It might be the KOD going with him back-to-back weeks, but I like Scotty at 7,400.
Yeah, I have to concur. I mean, we know the talent level with Jordan Spieth.
Total homer podcast, by the way.
Well, so we know where Jordan Spieth and Morikawa are at. Golf game is elite at times. Morikawa is just – he's not there where he's comfortable standing over every shot, and you can tell. And Jordan just for whatever reason, just goes off the face of the earth for about 7 holes. And then he's back, and then he's on, and he's back. I mean, and let's be honest, this golf course does not suit his skill set to its fullest potential. So just because of that, we're out on him. I think going forward in the future, we will like Morikawa here, just not this year. And really, honestly, Max Homa as well.
And I know we're talking about the DFS slate, and we don't necessarily need these guys to win to be great DFS plays, but I mean, can Jordan Spieth, Colin Morikawa, can these guys realistically? I mean, Morikawa starting at 2 under, Jordan starting at 1 under.
Can't catch the guys with the firepower at the top.
Yeah, what can they realistically do?
No.
And you got a Scott Stallings that's cheaper. I mean, yeah, we're homers, but Stallings is coming in cheaper than both those guys, and he's starting at 3 under, so he's starting a couple strokes better, at least than Morikawa. So, and that's, finishing position obviously matters. There are finishing points at stake. So, that's why I like Stallings in the 7K range.
Yeah, we also know that his floor is obviously a lot deeper, and his ceiling might not be as high. But if you look at skill set wise, golf course, we need to make pars on hard par 4s or have birdie opportunities on very, very difficult par 4s. That's his skill set. So if he can capitalize, we love it. We love it. Let's just go from here on down the rest of the way, Joe. 69 and down. I think all these guys are going to be even or 1 under, I believe. Is there any 2 unders in there? Homa, Spieth? No. So these guys are all even or 1 under the rest of the way in. What's your KH Lee played fantastic last week to get in as well. We got like Adam Scott. this is
Yeah, we talked about Connors finishing strong. What about Adam Scott?
Yeah.
What a played well to even get into the BMW. Played great in Memphis to get there, and then played his way into this week by playing great at Wilmington. So an amazing up and down on the 72nd hole. Huge pressure. So you kind of want to ride the hot hand there with Adam Scott, a guy that's been around the block and seen kind of any type of golf course that you can throw at him. Obviously a beautiful ball striker. So like Adam Scott, Billy Horschel's had some good results in this event. He's always streaky. He's always kind of just slots into that GPP only bucket for me, but he's had some former success on this golf course, and we've seen him kind of repeatedly play well over the years at golf courses he likes. And we know his FedEx Cup history. So circling Adam Scott down here, circling Billy Horschel, and I just like Tagala. I just pull for the dude. I think he's very fun to watch. He's an electric type of guy. So, I'm sure I'll probably have some Tagala shares just so I can root for him this week.
I agree with that sentiment on all those people. Tagala is easy to cheer for. He plays well. Him and Cage, let's be honest, him and Cage Lee, they all play well on the same. Those two guys and Scott Stallings, they all play well on the same golf courses. We've seen it every time. It's the same style of courses, the stats that matter. And I'll tell you another player that I like just because the price is so cheap is if you're going to go ahead and take somebody at even par, Aaron Wise is a ball striker.
Mm-hmm.
If he can just putt okay this week, he will move up the leaderboard because there's going to be a handful of these guys that ship it in. We already know that going in.
Yeah.
4, 5, 6 guys that ship it in.
And this isn't a cakewalk type of golf course,
Exactly.
AP. So, you could see these guys taking a big step back. You could see some of these guys starting at 3 under, taking a big step back. It's not crazy to slot in. If you want to go stars and scrubs and stack a Xander and a Scheffler, and then go looking down here at some of these guys that are starting at even or 1 under par. It's not crazy to think that, some of the guys in the 3, 4, 2 under range are going to take a step back this week. It's a tough golf course. As you mentioned, motivation can always be a factor. Some interesting lines of strategy you can take this week.
Yeah. And like you just said, the golf course is hard. So you're going to get a few things going to Ray. They can shoot 75 on this course pretty easily, even if you're the top player, top players in the world. So, and you're going to see a lot of 72s and 3s out here. You're going to see a lot of them. So, this is probably the most in depth that I've ever actually concentrated on the PGA Tour Championship, specifically for what we already talked about. So, let's just go for it. Who's your dart play of the week?
I'm Homer, man. I'm closing out the season with the Homer pick. Scott Stallings, the East Tennessee boy, the dart of the week.
I'm going to harp on this. Another Homer play here. Scott Stallings, 7,400. Not just because of that. Look at his ball striking since mid-June. It's been fantastic. He has been in or around the final group. He was there in San Antonio, the Charles Schwab, up at Detroit, I think, Rocket Mortgage. And then that last week, and I think I might have missed a week in there as well. And they've all been very similar. Ball striking matters. 175 to 200 yard par 4 entry shot, that matters. That's where his bread's buttered. And I said this 2 months ago, and I'll say it again. This is not inside information, but he lives in Knoxville, so I've talked to him in passing, and great headspace. Guy's in a great headspace. And you can tell. You can tell.
Let's not forget, man, motivation factor. Scott he's had a terrific career. He's not a Rory. He's not a Patrick Cantlay. He's not a Colin Morikawa. So, this dude's going to be hungry, man. 10th place in this event's $1 million. 5th place is $3 million. And not that goes for more than just Stallings here. Some of the kind of these middle of the road guys that are in this event, they're going to be hungry, man. There's a lot of money, at stake. When you start talking about moving up, 4 or 5 spots, there's some big pay gaps. So I think he'll be heavily motivated and is playing well. And as you mentioned, in a very good headspace right now.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, they mentioned it on the telecast this weekend that talked to his caddy, and his caddy said, we're treating this like a major championship because it's got a major championship feel. And so same thing this week. I'm excited. He's paired with Justin Thomas on Thursday. Might be there for the opening tee shot. Just saying. Who do you think's going to win this, Joe?
I'm going Xander. I mean, obviously, Scotty Scheffler and Patrick Cantlay are in great position, but Xander's kind of hanging right there. Has played really, really well. Had a chance to win that event last week, and he's been tremendous. Probably the best course history in the field, arguably at East Lake. Rory's played really well, but I like what Xander's done here, and I like where his game is. So Xander's my heart this week. Sorry, Bagels.
I like Xander. Definitely, it's not even close how much better his form is on this course. But aside from his recent antics, I wouldn't say antics, the crowd's on him a little bit and he don't like it. So if we can get away from that and we can keep his head on straight, I feel like John Rahm's going to make some noise. And I don't even know if you can get him
Very
a little
possible.
better. He's a little bit back there. I'm trying to pull up his outright number here.
This golf course definitely suits what he does well. He hits it very long, very accurate, man. He's amazing. One of the best players in the world off the tee. And when you start getting outside of those wedge ranges consistently, which they will this week at East Lake, that's when Rahm typically kind of rises, rises to the top when it's not a kind of a wedge fest. So good call there, man.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, he's starting like 7 back, I think. And you're only getting like 14-1. So those odds aren't great. He probably should be more like 20-1. But for the price,
started 4 back last year, finished second.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I think he's going to be right there going into Sunday. Honestly, now whether right there might be 4 back, honestly, or 3 back, but I think him and Xander both will be knocking on Scheffler's door. That's where I see competing. I think Cantlay obviously can win this, but a lot of things had to go right for him to win this past week. I mean, he missed 2 little short ones there on Saturday. Then he holes out on the par 5 coming in for eagle from the fairway, and then they gets that fixed and just putts. I wouldn't say that he, other than the break of his life there on 17, it was like amazing how many putts for par and he made from like 3, 4, 5, 6 feet. It was just automatic on Sunday, and that was coming off the 2 shaky ones on Saturday. So he makes a lot of sense in a lot of golf tournaments that we bring him up in, and for some reason he makes the most sense here, and I'm saying no.
It just this time of year, for some reason, he just kind of these golf courses I think line up well for him. Caves Valley last year, Wilmington last week, kind of lined up perfectly for him, and he can obviously play well at East Lake. So really weird year for Cantlay, man. I don't know if you describe it as successful, not success. I mean, the guy reasonably could have won like 5 events this year, and we've seen some really weird final round meltdowns. So obviously that's kind of laughing there. It's been a successful year for him, but a really weird year overall, and not a guy that you can kind of count on in spots. So I don't know. It's going to be very interesting this week.
Yeah, I didn't. Definitely should have won Harbor Town for sure.
Harbor Town, yeah, had a great chance to win.
Pebble. Maybe,
Pebble, great chance to win. Travelers, great chance to win. That was a really squirrely weekend for him there. And then the major thing, he kind of solidified himself at the end of the year in the majors. I think maybe he's kind of starting to get that monkey off his back, but just a kind of weird year overall for Cantlay. I don't know that coming off the FedEx Cup win last year and how dominant he looked down the stretch, I think it's fair that we maybe expected a little bit more. But at the same time, had some really close calls. A couple things go his way. We're talking about him having a Scotty Scheffler type of year. Also lost in the playoff to Scheffler in Phoenix, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just kind of been a weird year for Cantlay.
I agree completely. You know, we've been waiting for him for I think a couple of years now to like literally take the reins since he's been healthy, because we know that's how good he is, and he just hasn't done that yet. But last week, he's just when he's on, he's just so good. He's so pure. He's got all the tools, he does everything right. Puts it, chips it, hits it. Doesn't hit it extremely far, but he's very impressive. So should be great. I'm excited. It's going to be hot. It's 3 hours and 15 minutes from my house, so we'll see what happens, Joe. Possibly, like I said, get that blanket out, that pillow out on the couch for me Sunday.
Yeah,
Joe,
just, just try to get some content if you go down there, man.
I'll see what I can do.
We gotta get some fall content cataloged.
Maybe possibly to streak into the pond or something, you know.
With whatever it takes, man.
The turn written on my cheeks. So anyway, Joe, appreciate it. 3rd year in the books. Check us out. We are not taking weeks off. We will have videos posted on the YouTube coming up, I believe, with different kinds of golf content, different guests. Stay tuned really soon. We're going to talk a lot about Live V PGA Tour, and some exciting things coming in the future. So, Joe, always a pleasure. We'll do it again next year.
Yeah,
He's
man.
Joe Nicely.
Enjoyed it.
I'm Andrew Putters. Thank you, Rotoballer.com, for everything you do. You've listened to the Turn Fantasy Golf Podcast.